the last mile delivery challenges. So when we talk about e-commerce in isolation, when we talk about rural in isolation, and we talk about logistics in isolation, these are independent streams which itself have their inherent opportunities and challenges. And if we were to combine them, then there's a compounding effect in terms of the operational prowess required to turn this around. And therefore, what kind of operational responsiveness is required is quite unique for India. So as we understand, there are about 19,000 odd pin codes, about 17,000 odd good pin codes. And at any moment of time, there is an immense pressure across the e-commerce players, their logistics providers, merchandisers, sellers, so on and so forth. However, in terms of e-commerce particularly, the proof is in the pudding. The moment of truth is when someone in rural India orders a package, and you've set up a great catalog, you've set up uh, immensely well marketing campaigns. However, if there is a delay, or if there is some fraud, or there is disruption, that's where the customer experience journey sort of drops. And probably we might want to talk about how your organization has been seeing it. So just to rephrase that question, what are some of the last mile delivery challenges that, as per you, exist in rural e-commerce space, and how is your organization trying to solve them? So just taking thoughts from Mr. Chikara here.
See, the challenge is not just in delivery, but also because, see, agri is a big source now for first mile, and that's also kind of shifting to e-commerce. The number of agri-tech startups, the number of startups who are either, like Licious, which is doing on the seafood meat, or Atom a Day in Bangalore, which has farms, their own farms about 30 kilometers away. And a lot of these guys, so there are a lot of startups who are working from getting the traffic on both sides. So first is the last mile thing, and obviously I will not talk about the same thing, that COD issue and all the drama that happens. So what we are doing is that imagine a village. Now, if you look at from the government side, the biggest challenge in agri is whether it's first mile, you treat that as a first mile or last mile, is the wastage that happens. But like if you look at it, 20, I was reading this some McKinsey report, and they said India will need another 400 million metric tons of food by 2025. On the other side, almost 30 to 40%, which is almost like 167 metric tons, is being wasted. So imagine that. And if you look at that, why it is wasted, some of that is storage, some of that is logistics. But if you see the proportion, I think logistics is where the most wastage happens. And that is where, because there are no efficient, cold chains there, or or even if the cold chain is there, it's too expensive as compared to the cost of produce. Because somewhere, see, if it's meat and all, or fish, or milk products, then it makes sense to invest in cold chain vehicle. But if it's just pure vegetables, they cannot invest themselves. They depend on the public infrastructure. And we have all seen, I'm from Haryana, you go to Azad Mandi and you will see that guys will just load their stuff on the truck and they will sit on top of them and then break. So that is the biggest challenge. So what we are doing is, we are saying, imagine envisage a hub in rural area which has solar power on it. There are storage systems there. There are electric vehicles, whether it's a 3-wheeler cargo or a 2-wheeler or a 4-wheeler or whatever. See, we talk this jargon of shared economy a lot in our this thing. But I'm from Haryana. I'm basically a farmer first and a tech guy or sales guy or whatever I am later. Shared economy has worked for hundreds of years in rural. Not everybody has a tractor in their house, but somebody has a tractor and that's available on a per day or whatever with the driver and all that. So there it is perfectly common shared. So we want to work on the government side. The government is saying we need to invest a lot in infrastructure to curtail these losses that are happening in agri. So if you have this center, which is not just providing the logistics service, but also acting as a hub for e-commerce. Because the biggest challenge is that the company can't sell on COD, to an individual farmer. The individual farmer doesn't want to go and do online or doesn't know how to do online. So you need a wire media. So this center itself could be the one, okay, you want to buy seeds, here's a special offer, go ahead, give me 50% advance. And when it comes there, he calls him and say, hey, your stuff has come, please take it. So I think, as you said, rather than looking at them as silos, I think time has come where we look at the rural thing both from a first mile and last mile, because unless you mesh them, back them with solar, it will not be very efficient, because you can't have one system just for first mile, one system just for last mile, and everybody kind of working their own thing. I hope that
Thank
makes
you.
sense. Yeah.
Yes, it does. Thank you so much for clarifying that.